The arrival of troops that began on D-Day, June 6, 1944, would culminate 11 months later in the defeat of Nazi Germany. Operation Neptune, the amphibious phase of Operation Overlord, was the largest seaborne invasion in history. It was not predestined to succeed, and it was an extraordinarily risky undertaking, and for an extended period of time on the day, the outcome was still in doubt. Stalin had long pressured the United States and Great Britain to open a so-called Second Front so as to divide the military efforts of the Germans who had invaded the Soviet Union 2 years before. Of the 5.5 million men who made up the Red Army at the start of the war, some 80% had become casualties by the end of 1941, a loss rate far higher than that sustained by any previous military force. Yet despite the massive losses, after the Battle of Stalingrad in August 1942, the Red Army took the offensive, and holding back the Soviets became Hitler's strategic priority.
The United States, Russia and Great Britain must become cornerstones for a world structure for peace. Yet to secure that peace, decisive victory must be achieved. At these conferences, another vital step was taken, a step which has since resulted in the combined Allied offensive on the German fortress, from both east and west.
Combined with these changing circumstances in the east, the Allies managed to achieve air supremacy in the northwestern France. The Allied strategic bombing campaign substantially weakened the Luftwaffe by targeting the German industrial base, necessary to sustain its air arm, also leading to fighter escorts inflicting heavy casualties on the German interceptors attacking the bomber formations, giving the Allied forces the necessary air supremacy for the landings in Normandy. Churchill favoured a second front that would work its way up towards Central Europe from the Mediterranean, but the Americans insisted on a west-to-east approach, beginning in northwest France. Operation Overlord was the code name, with Neptune a combined British and United States undertaking to secure a lodgment on the continent from which further offensive operations can be developed. This lodgment area must contain sufficient port facilities to maintain a force of 26 to 50 divisions, and to enable this force to be augmented by follow-up formations at the rate from 3 to 5 divisions a month. The Allies had to determine where the landing should take place. The most obvious location was the Pas-de-Calais, which would put the Allies close to the Belgian border and Germany. Detailed planning for a major cross-channel amphibious operation began in late April 1942 under the code name Roundup. Admiral Sir Bertrand Ramsay was appointed the naval commander, and although he soon left to plan and command the 1942-43 series of Mediterranean amphibious operations, staff continued the UK planning, such as the infrastructure, landing craft bases, maintenance facilities, and embarkation hards. The same Bay of Normandy was provisionally chosen as the assault area as early as January 43. At the end of June, a conference was held in London, chaired by Vice Admiral Lord Lee Mountbatten and attended by US and Canadian Army representatives. This conference reached definite conclusions as to the future planning, training and provision of equipment, including the need for artificial harbours. 6 weeks later, in August 1943, the plan was approved by the combined chiefs of staff at the Quebec Conference. Admiral Ramsay returned to resume naval command of the operation in October 43, and detailed joint planning began on the 15th of December 1943, followed on the 15th of February by the naval outline. The Allies were able to gain control of the Mediterranean. Beginning in North Africa, Allied forces took Sicily and then landed on the western coast of Italy, which freed up naval forces for the Normandy landings. Provisional naval orders were issued on the 2nd of April 1944, and on a very limited scale sealed orders on the 24th of April. 2 days later, the headquarters moved to Southwark Park. north of Portsmouth, and on the 12th of May the naval plan was frozen. Earlier on the 8th of May, Admiral Ramsay informed General Eisenhower that the 5th or 6th of June were the earliest acceptable dates, with the 7th of June in case of extreme necessity. Holders were ordered to open the operation orders on the 25th of May, and on the 28th were informed that the Supreme Commander had decided on 5th of June as D-Day. At 4:15 on 4th of June, the decision was taken to delay by 24 hours in the hope of better weather.